the Florida gubernatorial election debate. Like I said, not hosted by Fox News, not CNN, MSNBC, no. It's hosted by Patrick Bet-David, the PBD podcast, right? But, you know, we had James Fishback, who, by the way, is quite an interesting player. I quite like him, but I also like winners, and it's hard to say, but it doesn't seem like, it's actually not hard to say. It's going to be unlikely that Fishback wins this race. You know, he was actually comparing himself to Zohran Mamdani a few months back, and he was saying, look, Mamdani was at so-and-so percent a year out before the election. And then however many months, maybe 2-3 months before the election, he was sort of at 30-40% up there with Andrew Cuomo. That's not what's going on here. James Fishback isn't even on 10% in the polls, and Byrondonalds is at maybe even 60%, but at least 50% in the polls. So, you know, he is good, and he kind of reminds me of Vivek. And even when I was watching parts of the debate, he was reminding me of Vivek, but not as good, kind of like a white Vivek, but nowhere near as talented, I'm sorry to say, because he just isn't as quick. I really liked Vivek during the 2024 debates, and then the Iowa caucus and all of that. He was really, really good. But, you know, I thought maybe Fishback could emulate that, but in a better version, you know, with less competition. Trump isn't at the forefront of this election, of course, because he's president. Byrondonalds is, who is endorsed by President Trump. And, you know, he isn't anything special, but the reality here is that he's got all of the money. He didn't even turn up to the debate. So Fishback was there. Jay Collins was there, who is the lieutenant governor to Ron DeSantis. And Paul Renner was there also, who I believe was served as Speaker of the House for Florida. So they were all there. They all turned up to the debate, and they were having a good time, and Fishback probably did the best out of all of them, probably had the best moments. But Byron's got too much money. He's raised in excess of $50 million, dollars, $50 million, if not more. Might even be more. And then he's also gone and got the endorsement of President Trump, and he's also backed by the Israeli lobby, right? So what I'm seeing here is sort of like a Thomas Massie situation, where Thomas Massie, about a month ago, maybe even 2 months ago, in Kentucky, you know, he's massive on social media, even bigger than Fishback, right? Fishback's big, but Thomas Massie is massive, right? And he's also got history in the House as a representative. And he's also an incumbent, which means he should win, right? He goes up against a Trump-endorsed, Israeli-backed candidate, AIPAC-backed candidate, and he loses by quite a substantial margin. So, and obviously we all wanted Thomas Massie to win, and the same thing here, we probably all want Fishback to win, but it's not looking great for Fishback. And also considering that Byron is not saying he's going to debate, he says he wants, you know, the candidates to get better in the polls, which probably isn't going to happen. Yeah, if we don't see a debate between Fishback and Byron, how can we assess the differences in policy, but not just policy, but also sort of dogma, right? And style between the two, right? Because a lot of the times that can sort of sway voters. We saw Trump, you know, doing terribly in 2015, right? Going into the 2016 election. And then as he got better in the debates, right, with his zingers, with his quips and all of that, he started to do better in the polls. But if Byron won't turn up to a debate, how can we see the difference? And the same thing happened in 2024 with Vivek, with Ron DeSantis, right? Nikki Haley, with all of these candidates. Trump didn't turn up because he was confident. He had the money, he had the endorsements, he had he was doing phenomenally in the polling, just like Byron is here, and he didn't turn up to the debates. And did that affect him? No, right? If anything, it helped him. So I think Byron's probably stealing from Trump's playbook there. And he's probably going to do very well. And that's how I see it, right? I'm sorry to say, I know people are trying to get behind Fishback. It would be good. I would prefer him to win. I think it would be better if he won. But that's not what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing more of a Thomas Massie situation. Quite big on social media, good on social media, but you're not running for the governor of Twitter, right? You're running for the governor of Florida, right? If you're running for the governor of Twitter, I'm sure Fishback would win because he's good on Twitter. But on in real life, Byron has the money. Byron has the the APAC backing. Byron has Trump's backing, and sometimes for the sort of run-of-the-mill voters, especially in Kentucky, probably less so in Florida, but it still is the case, they're going to eat that up a lot more than how good you are on social media or even a debate stage, right? But we're not going to see that. Byron didn't turn up. The debate as a whole, I mean, it was average. It's like, why are we not doing this on a traditional... I know it kind of makes me sound a bit traditional or, snobbish, but why is this not happening on a traditional news network, right? Why is this not happening? Why is it happening on PBD, right? Why is it happening there? I know I heard stories that the RNC for Florida's own RNC, Republican National Committee, was, or the GOP, should I say, in Florida, was essentially saying that certain candidates wouldn't be able to be, debating like Fishback, for instance. And I think it would only be able to be Byron, Jay Collins, and Paul Renner. But still, PBD podcast, I mean, it just makes everything look so unprofessional. But anyway, we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens in this debate, and if there are debates in the future, and then also on top of that, we'll see what happens in the election. But if I was to predict, we've predicted before on the show, I think it's going to be Byron, right? It's going to be Byron, which is unfortunate. I mean, but it is what it is, right? It was unfortunate that Thomas Massie lost, but it is what it is, right?